Welcome to the Scaleup Valley podcast, where we bring the best tech leaders in the world to help you scale from 2 to 100 million ARR. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Caroline Noublanche, CEO at Apricity. She is based in Paris, but also the legal entity is based in the UK, and part of the team is in Paris, another part of the team is in the UK. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's get to know a little bit more about yourself, and this time for the first time, Caroline yes. In French. Finally, I tried several times.
No, but you say Caroline, I won't mind.
I love to say the name of people in their own language, in the native language. I'm also Portuguese, so it might be a little bit easier. We learned French early on, but I forgot a little bit. But let's get to the show and let you know a little bit more about yourself. So how did you end it starting up Apricity?
So I started Apricity because I had created a previous company which was in mobile apps, and then I sold this company. And after 5 years in the company that has acquired my previous company, I had this little evil me saying, "Oh, it's time to create something more, something new." So I wanted to find a meaningful project, and actually I joined a structure which is called Camet Ventures, which is a startup studio created by AXA, who's a leader in insurance. And Camet Ventures was looking for seasoned entrepreneurs. They considered me good for the job. And actually in their under the setup, I looked at different options, different projects. I wanted something that was meaningful, something that was in healthcare, and something where technology could make a difference. And talking about Apricity, we are actually a new kind of fertility clinic. Mm-hmm. We say the next generation fertility clinic. And I ran in that topic because a doctor came to Camet Ventures, a gynecologist who had a clinic, and he said, actually, I have amazing success rates. And that's because during the stimulation phase, I do this and that. I started to investigate this idea. In the end, we created something completely different, which is a principle of pivoting. But I really fell in love with this topic because I'm a woman and I wanted to make a difference for other women. And this is a topic, fertility, where you see a lot of people have now troubles to conceive. It's 1 in 6 couples will have troubles.
Incredible.
And it's actually one of the most important things you will do in your life, to have a kid. So we felt that we could make a difference. And IVF, especially, has existed for 40 years, but it's still very much clinical led, or something that has been organized around the constraints of clinics. And we said, okay, what if we were to reinvent fertility treatments now? So that's how I fell in love with this idea.
Absolutely. That's a meaningful purpose. We talk so much nowadays about culture, values, purpose, mission, vision, and that's really a very appealing one and an important cause. Really have an impact on millions of families and also on the planet. Cool. And in what stage of growth are you in at the moment in terms of revenues, headcount, funding rounds?
So we incorporated the company in 2018, in July 2018, and now we are at this stage where we have raised our round A. We raised actually in May 2019 6 million euro. We are a team of 30 people on 2 sites, as you mentioned earlier, and actually 3 because we also acquired a company specialized in egg donation, Altri, quite early in our journey. And in terms of revenues, we are at this stage still at the lower end of your bracket at the 2 million stage, but we are aiming for much more, and we have investors who are also pushing us, of course, to deliver much more. So we plan to actually multiply by 5 this year, and we're in the middle of the execution of this plan. Yeah.
Well done. Times 5. That's a very hard and ambitious target. Well done. And let's start there. As you were saying, we always set up this threshold from 2 to 300 million inspired a little bit by someone from that. Sometimes I need to bring him on the show because I'm always talking about his own rule. Agram, who says that the best SaaS companies in the world show a pattern of tripling twice and doubling 3 times, from 2 to 6, 6 to 18, 18 to 36, 36 to 72, and 72 to 144, which would be kind of 5 years to get from post product market fit to a moment that they could consider an exit or an IPO and keep building the company to the next stage. So what do you think about those kind of aggressive growth paces? So there's another trend where exactly in the opposite way, who says it's better to grow a little bit slower and to be a little bit more sustainable in terms of growth. What is your opinion about the right pace of growth?
The right balance. I think that, we as entrepreneurs are always shooting for the stars, and we have very ambitious plans. It's always very difficult when you're on the ground and you start to hit difficulties to say, okay, I'm still going to do the plan. This being said, in our own plan, we plan to actually reach 80 million euro in 2023. So that's we have the same kind of pattern than the one you describe in mind. And to do that, it doesn't mean that we are rushing and we are doing things too fast, but it means that we make sure to have a good execution and to also have a good basis and good foundations to replicate from one market to another, because that's also how we can find our speed. So today you mentioned we have launched in the UK, and this is going well in the UK, but we also prepare for, by the end of the year, start the Spanish market and to ramp up in different countries with the same technology and using the same recipe. So ambitious for sure. If you ask me what I think, it's ambitious for sure, but we are on the same page in terms of what we want to achieve.
Got it. So, and we always discuss this a lot on the show, which are the 3 critical ingredients to scale. And the number 1 is focus. And let's start there. So sometimes there is a temptation after raising Series A or even after raising Series B to completely feel that now, instead of having 20 or 15 people, and instead of having 200K on the bank account and struggling with cash flow, we have a much more interesting check of 5, 10, 15. Nowadays, the rounds are going up and up. And we have much more people that will be hiring in the next 12 months, so we can conquer the world. So let's open free markets. Let's go for free verticals. Let's go for small business, mid-markets, enterprise. So how do you assure focus on these moments of euphoria so they don't become moments of depression? Then you need to cut everything and you don't have hope in anything.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster. Yeah. No, so to keep it simple, I think that our job as entrepreneurs is very much to be leaders and to tell our teams what is the focus and where we want to go. Of course, as you say, there are temptations, but I know that at our stage of development, we focus on 2 things. One is the growth and how to deliver the revenues and deliver our figures. So having a pipe of leads and testing the different acquisition routes and being very good at following up this path. The other one is I mentioned that we want to reinvent fertility treatments, and to do that, actually, we want to be a 5-star experience for our patients. We want that they consider it's actually a journey which has been adapted to their own preferences, constraints, and which allow them to live their lives while creating one. So this 5-star, we define it as either above and beyond or a 5-star. So it's both a question of focus and a question of culture. So we make sure to have all KPIs in place to actually follow up how we deliver on these 2 patterns. And I think as leaders and as entrepreneurs, one of our main focus is to repeat and repeat and repeat.
Yes.
So to give you one example, we had the product and tech team. We were going according to agile methodology. And very recently, we reorganized them in feature teams, organized towards these two goals. So now we have a team which is working on growth and one team which is working on 5-star. So that's one of the way of ensuring that the whole company is actually focused on the same things.
This is very interesting. We hear a lot about the squad methodology or the squad mindset applied to product engineering, but still there are a lot of companies who are not leveraging this mentality in terms of having cross-functional squads with marketing, sales, customer success, all focused on just a strategic priority for the company. So that's a great best practice, and congrats for doing it.
No, but it's not. We started by organizing around the mobile app and the server and the integration, like anyone. But soon you realize that actually, if you want to have people who are motivated and aligned with the goal of the company, they have to think about what they need to deliver, and each one of them can actually contribute and contribute to the growth and to the creation of value. They just need to understand how and why, and this is by focusing on the objectives, overarching objectives of the company.
Right. There is another amazing female French entrepreneur, which is based in San Francisco from Mathilde. I was almost forgetting her name, Mathilde Collin, who has an amazing articles, and one of them really covers this, what you just said, Caroline, the relationship between what we are doing and how it connects with the purpose and with the vision and the objectives of the company. So I feel much more fulfilled as a member of the team, that I know what is my contribution to the success of the team. So very good point again. And so let's move to the second critical ingredient to scale, in our opinion, which is team. So, and we were discussing before starting the show that we'll need to create maybe 7 companies from the 200 million ARR. We need to become 7 different CEOs during the journey. We need to have 7 different leadership teams, or at least all the members of the leadership team will need to want and be able to be a different people or different executive to be in the leadership team through all those 5, or if possible with 5 in 5 years, which means that you grew so fast, as we shared in the beginning. So how do you ensure that you have the right team for each stage of growth? And I know that you are now in the beginning of your early stage growth, but given your previous experience in another companies, so how do you keep the leadership team in shape and capable of executing your strategy?
I think there are 2 things. The first one is when we created this company, we made sure that we have a set of different skills, and we were coming from different angles. So in the co-founding team, we have, of course, someone who has run fertility clinics and was now in charge of operations. So he had 15 years of experience in the field of fertility. I was coming from a more sales and marketing background, and in new technologies. We have a doctor, and we have someone coming from also tech background. So I think first, making sure that you have a good mix in the co-founding team of different skill sets and not being all together alikes or clones of each other help to identify when you have holes somewhere in the organization, and helps challenge each other. Then I very much believe that being in a startup, you actually recruit only excellent people. So that's one of the value of the company. I think we'll talk about the values just after. But we only make sure to recruit people that all of us consider it's a full and frank yes. When we have a really good, but this we don't go for recruitment. So onboarding only excellent people that we are completely and we listen to our guts in that field. And then we have to identify who are the talents in the company, because the company is on a hyper growth and is growing very fast. You have excellent people, but they just miss the seniority. You can't just invent 5 years of experience. And when you haven't gone through this or that situation, right. Excellent people will actually be able to adapt. But you have a few of them who are what I call talents, who are people that can actually explode with the company. Mm-hmm. And I think one of our role as well is to identify these people that can really explode, mm-hmm. and you give them anything to do and they can grow with the company. And again, it's not saying that the other ones are not good. They are just excellent as well, but you have to give them the time to actually grow and not to explode, because you could push. It's a very stressful moment, this growth. And for us, being a company in medical care and in fertility, it's also very important not to push people to burn out, and that could happen quite fast when you have so much emotional elements at stake, mm-hmm. and especially because we talk with people who are in a very, very uncomfortable moment in their lives.
Absolutely. And it's curious to see that a lot of the concepts that we apply to marketing and sales also apply to the talent pipeline itself. And it's not only also about only acquisition; it's also about retention and doubling down on the customers that we can serve the best, and doubling down on the talent that we can also serve the best via customer success and talent retention on both sides. That's interesting to see how both pipelines work so well.
And it's what is difficult also for founders is that I don't know how most of them are, but for me as a founder, I'm very much of a people person. So I tend to believe that the people I have with me are the people who will be part of the adventure in 10 years' time. And I think that it's important for people joining the team, and for me as well, to realize that the cycles that you have in traditional companies, where usually you would be 3 years in a job, are not the same with a startup. And you have to acknowledge that people can also have much faster cycles with you, and they can be great for 1 year, 2 years, and then maybe not the best for the next stage of growth. So it's important both way. And I must say that sometimes I find it hard to see some people resign, for example. It happens, and things happen in life, but we have also to be to understand it's not a personal. They don't say that they don't like the project. It's just that it's also very stressful, and you need to have fresh energy all the time, and that's part of it's the name of the game.
Absolutely. And I think that's very early on, we also need to have the courage of letting people go and bringing new people that will help us to get to the next stage of growth. And this can be very difficult, as you said, especially with the ones who have helped us to get where we are. So with the ones that we clearly know that they are not a fit and they are not adding too much value to the company as well, it's never easy, but it's much easier than for the ones that we say, wow, this person added so much value to the company, was so important for us to get here. But in order to get to the next stage, maybe that it doesn't align even with their life purpose.
Their own objectives, yeah. Yeah, we had a very talented woman to run our AI project, and last summer she told me, okay, I want to quit because I have a project of my own. I want to start my own business, and that was very hard to take because she was someone material in the organization. Likewise, we had an amazing fertility advisor, and she was the one talking with our patient, really very professional, very great. And she met with a guy and decided to move to Canada. So it was not possible to continue to work together. But yeah, that's life. It's just that as managers, as founders, we put so much of our life there that it's you have to understand that it's not a betrayal. It's not. It's just that it's also life.
The word. That is the word. I love it. And do you have any name for your Apricity team members?
What do you mean by
kind of sometimes
Apricity team? No, we actually have our Google Calendar is called Apricity team, and then we have a lot of we play on words with Apricity and fertility a lot.
Right.
For example, we collect eggs, oocytes, and then they are they become embryos. So, for example, we make jokes all the time saying excellent instead of excellent. So there are a lot of jokes internally, but we don't call ourselves with a name except that we are the Apricity team.
Got it. That's amazing, because I think that nowadays people are also understanding that being Apricity is for life, even when they go for the next career challenges. So it's they are part of the culture, they are part of the family, and they are always welcome to the team. I think that's a new way of thinking, that it was good to share home for a long time, and they will always be part, and they will be representing Apricity wherever they are, in whatever company and whatever life track.
And what I like to say is, our job is actually to make babies, and I think that Apricity somehow is our baby. And I had the discussion with one of our fertility advisor last week, and she told me Apricity will always be my baby. So yeah.
Yeah, you have an amazing brand. So we could have an entire show just about how to position, how to brand this brand. Not because I'm an expert, but just because of out of fun.
And do you know, Mike, what Apricity means? Actually, what is the meaning of this word? It's a very old English term. So as a French person, I like to teach new English words, but it actually means the warmth of the sun in winter. So when everything is dark and you have this ray of sun and you feel the warmth of it, and that's what we wanted our customers to feel in this difficult journey of not succeeding in having a child, and which is really a roller coaster of emotion. We wanted to be that ray of sun for them and to help them.
That's a great story and a great analogy to get to the first key ingredients to scale the company. What the best way to do it, which is the culture, right? And the culture of execution. And so what can we do as founders, as scale-up leaders, to assure that we are focused, that we have the right team on the right seats, and that we have this culture who brings everyone together, and who is our North Star to make decisions?
So a few things. First, I believe very much in saying what we want to do and sharing values. So very early in the process, we have defined what are our core values, which I mentioned earlier, excellence. Another one is empowerment. And the last one is care. And we apply that to our patients, of course, and our customers, but also internally. So excellence, I already dwelled on that, so I will not. But in terms of empowerment, for us, it's very important that people feel that they can make decisions for themselves, and that they don't have to ask permission to do this or that. And also caring, as I mentioned, we want to care for each other as much as we care for our patients. So that's one, is to make sure that we are aligned in terms of values and in terms of what we want to create for our patients, which is that we want them to feel cared for, confident and relaxed during this journey, and we assess our decisions based on that. But then we have also very soon in the process started to very soon started to apply lean management techniques. So lean is a way of management that has been invented by Toyota in Japan to actually make sure to align the value delivered to the customer with what you do internally, and to actually see where there are some wastes, where there are what we call red beans, and where you have you're missing some resources, for example. So we actually apply lean management across the company. We have a sensei, someone that accompanies me, but also the whole company in this. We started by a seminar all together. So we are French and English. So we had a seminar in Sancerre where we, of course, drank a bit of wine and enjoyed good food. But we also worked a little bit. And during this seminar, we had a game where you actually build a paper chicken, some puppets, and everyone has a role, and you could see it's one can fold, one can be the carrier, the other one will be the one delivering, and etc. And you can see how difficult it is to actually match and your objectives. And from there we have so it was very visual to understand, and a metaphor of what we are doing in the company. But now we do very regularly what we call the gembas. Gemba is when we go on the field and we observe what is done and what is a red bean. So what is the moment when we are either losing time or we have a problem, and etc. And we make sure to look at a piece, at one problem specifically, to solve this problem. And we do that in every department of the company. So that's one of the things of the culture, is to make sure that everyone knows these lean management techniques, and that we have visual management on our walls, that we follow our KPIs, and that we can actually act one step at a time, because sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming to see at everything you have to fix, especially in our case, because if you think of it, we are a bit of a customer service company. We are a little bit of a clinic. We are a little bit of a technology company. And we have all of these ingredients together. And that's by combining all of these ingredients that we deliver an amazing experience for our patients. But it's actually very difficult, because we don't focus just on being an excellent clinic or being excellent in medical. We also have to make sure that our customer service is excellent, and that our app and our tech is excellent. So that's where we have to make sure that everyone understands the goal, the different techniques with lean management.
And who is accountable nowadays, or if there is someone accountable for the customer experience or the customer life cycle? So nowadays we start seeing in some companies the ads of customer experience, in other companies is the customer success who takes care of that, and in other companies it's operations. So how does it work in Apricity?
In Apricity, as I mentioned, we have different people accountable for the two goals. So we have someone who's in charge of growth, and that's our sales and marketing director. And we have someone who's in charge of 5-star. And there we have twofold, because 5-star is one, the most important thing is to have a baby, the success rate. So it's ensuring that we have high live birth rates for our babies. So this part of the job, it's actually our chief medical officer, Mara Kotfrotsu, who's in charge of this indicator. And we have another part of that, which is to deliver an amazing experience in the sense you meant, Mike, which is actually, we actually follow that with the NPS score and with interviews with our patients. And this one, it's our chief operating officer, Andrew Berkeley, who's actually in charge and accountable with this amazing team of fertility advisors and nurses.
That's amazing. And in terms of the rituals, so what we call the cadence of accountability and the cadence of execution. So nowadays, I believe that almost in the tech world, if they are not doing, they are trying to do at least the weeklies, the monthlies, the dailies, the quarterly reviews, the annual reviews, the all ends, the town hall meetings. So what are some of the rhythms that are most relevant to you and are really critical for you as a CEO to ensure that everyone is on the same page?
So for us, I would say that the basis is more the weekly basis. So each team, for example, the tech teams, they have daily rituals. So they have a daily where, because we really believe that I would so much love to be a developer. You know, you can create value every day. That's just amazing. So they know at the end of the day, if they achieve the successes of the day, which is not always my case as as a CEO, I call some of my days the Josh Lehman days. I don't know if you've seen this TV series called The White House, where the secretary of the president or his chief of staff is called Josh Lehman. And every day he say, today my day will be focused on environment law. And then he has done everything. It's 2:00 in the morning and he has done everything but that. I'm a bit on the Josh Lehman days at the moment. When we talk about the team and their rituals, I would say that the most important ones are the weekly ones. So if we, for example, talk about the advisor team, the fertility advisors, daily they have a meeting where they actually share what needs to be done and etc. And they need a little bit of help. But every week they have what they call the dojo. Again, it's coming from the lean management. And during the dojo, every one of them brings one of the problems they had. And when we say problem, it's not necessarily something that is like a super dramatic, but it's a difficulty and you were not sure how to solve. And they share together, they pick one and they share together and say, okay, do we have a process for that? Is the process good enough or does it need to be amended? Is that a problem that will occur again and where we need to write another standard operating procedure, SOP? And if so, what would it look like so that they can apply it next time? So I would say that the weekly rituals are the most important one. And at my level, I have also a weekly catch-up with the management team where we monitor our KPIs, especially on growth and on 5-star experience.
And you do this in different rhythms or in the same weekly?
No, it's different. So the advisor team, they have their dojo on the Friday, and the management team catch up is on Mondays. And one of the difficulty we have, I don't know how it is for other companies, but you mentioned we are located in Paris, in London, and also in Hawes in Yorkshire with this company in the egg donation we acquired last year. So one of the difficulty for us is that we are not always in the same place. So for example, me, I'm not based in Paris. I'm based in the Eurostar, you know, the train that commutes between Paris and London, because I have to be so much in both locations. But a lot of things are happening through video calls, and that's not as easy as being all in the same office. So we have to make sure to have regular catch-ups, to call each other, to have tools that are extremely efficient if we want to make sure that the communication circulates well.
Absolutely. Awesome. And we get to one of the most exciting moments of the show, which is the last question, which is if you would have the opportunity to start again Apricity and meet Caroline at that time, what advice would you offer to her?
That's a difficult question. Usually, Mike, the way I answer this kind of question is if I were to share with a younger person, because I was already an entrepreneur before, so I know what it takes.
And are there, yes.
Yeah, but very often I meet with young women who want to be entrepreneurs, and they hesitate a little bit because they also want to create a family and have kids. And because we are a company who reimagine fertility, the key advice I give to these people is actually to say, you know, it will never be the good time to have a baby, and you can do it all. You can have a baby and a career. So don't wait for too long, because we see too many women at Apricity who have difficulties to conceive. So it's better to actually start this very important thing in your life earlier. So it's not an advice to myself, but an advice to other women hesitating to start their company. And I think that's very important to say. We are told as young women how to avoid to be pregnant, but we are not told enough how to get pregnant, and that we have a biological clock, and that after 35 it's difficult. So it's never time. There is never a right time, but it's important to go and do it all. And I would say to myself, to the younger myself, you know, everything is you put so much of yourself in that try to protect yourself as well and set boundaries, because otherwise it's easy also to work 80 hours a week, and then you don't have a clear vision. And as a manager, it's important also to stay calm and to take a step back and to be the one to say, okay, we're going that way, even if that's difficult, even if sometimes you feel it's the slope is very steep.
Absolutely. And what an amazing episode to help you scale in life and in business. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike.
And to our community, thanks for being there. Hopefully you have enjoyed as much as I had this amazing episode about helping you scale in life and business. And in the case of business, from 2 to 100 million ARR, in life, as many kids as you need. And don't forget to look at Apricity, and see you next time, and keep scaling.